Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Share Your Story with Ellie. I'm your host, Ellie V, and I'm really excited to be here today. Today's episode is a little different, and it's time for a little story time. After all, this podcast is called Share Your Story, right? So I just felt that today was the day that I needed to share a story. Now, these events are unfolding in real time. They're not wrapped up in bows, and I'm not even sure that there's a main conclusion or lesson to be learned. It's really just a story that I felt like the Lord invited me to share. While the main part of the story happened last night, I need to back you up to last month. Jacksonville was in the middle of 3 weeks of unprecedented rain. I'm talking days and nights waged with rain, wind, fallen tree branches, and dark skies. Flooding that destroyed cars, no wake signs put up in people's yards to avoid waves breaking into homes, and an outbreak of rattlesnakes coming out of their usual forest habitats to find dry land. Yeah, terrifying. And as a Floridian, we're used to the summer storms, but these felt more like the sky was completely cracking open and dumping every ounce of water in the heavens over Duval County. I crave sunshine, and our bodies need it in order to thrive. We were all getting to the point of drenched fatigue and downright depression over another gray-skied, soaked day. One night in August, Kelsey and I headed to our typical Thursday night routine, sushi and church. We touched up after work, knowing full well the frizz and soaked shoes would follow, grabbed our usuals at Saki House, and then headed out to the beach for the 7:22 service. As we approached the highway with flooding and flashing lights of cars that couldn't weather the storm, we looked at each other and decided the safer option was to turn around and head home, rather than battling the highway to and from in tropical storm-like conditions. We returned home to wags and cries from Annie and a plan to bake cookies and finish a show that we had been watching, although I don't even remember which one. And as I'm ready to preheat the oven, Kelsey comes inside from trying to do some laundry, because our washer and dryer's in the garage, saying, you're really going to want to come see this. There's a couple of inches of water covering the majority of the garage. Sure enough, I opened the door to see the water rising and getting too close for comfort to valuable items and appliances I did not have the money to replace. After consulting my dad on FaceTime, the only answer was to start scooping. Literally just scooping water off the ground. So we got whatever we could to get the water out. Mind you, this is while the storm is still raging outside and the rain has not stopped. In fact, it keeps just getting louder and louder and harder and harder. So it felt like we were working against the actual creator of the heavens and the skies. Kelsey and I grabbed the biggest cups we have, like the ones you buy for $20 at a football game, and scooped water into buckets to pour down the sink. We scooped for over an hour and a half, praying out loud that the rains would cease and looking at each other asking, are we even making a dent? But the common theme of then, and of a lot of the circumstances of my life recently, seems to be we were not made for this. This brings me to my first point, my stubbornness, and honestly, my lack. I didn't want to be scooping dirty water with bugs, frogs, and lint from the dryer, covered in dirt with my legs submerged past my ankles in the impossibly humid garage. All the while, the storm is raging outside, the thunder sounds louder, and the wind and rain just would not stop. If you know me at all, you know I love pretty things, keeping my hair styled, fun outfits, manicured nails, all of the above. So those things do not also equal scooping water from a cup into a mini trash can to pour down the drain. And yes, I do have video evidence of this. The thing is, I know I'm capable. I'm totally capable of finding a solution to a problem, getting my hands dirty. I can do what is needed for the task at hand in order to make something right. I simply don't want to. This has also been a reoccurring theme of my yard work. I was paying way too much money for way too terrible of service just to have someone come mow, blow, and go, as they call it, just to keep my yard intact, because I'm just not a girl who wants to be pushing a lawnmower. It's situations like these that bring out my isolation, that deep pain that when my mom passed away, the person I loved most who constantly cared for me and checked in is not here. And it also brings up the fact that there is still an unanswered prayer in my life, and that is to be married, to be with the person who I can partner with in all tasks. The big ones like praying for a family and what that looks like to bring together finances, or just who is divvying up the chores. Because to be honest, I love the movement that women are fully capable, and we are. There's so many things I'm grateful for that I am glad I've accomplished on my own. And yet, I know if Kelsey and I had the option, we would much rather a guy be taking out the trash every single Thursday. But we do it anyway, because that is the reality that we're in. So the same kind of feeling of isolation, or I have to figure it out myself, puts me also in a position of having to ask for help, to make known what I really need, and to ask someone to meet that need, which is, as a person who's an Enneagram 2, not my forte. I hate to feel needy. I hate to feel like I need to rely on someone else and ask and make it known. It just is kind of outside my realm of what's easy for me. So this brings me to yesterday. I spent a couple of hours out at the beach with my dear friend Hannah. We walked 5.5 miles, which I don't even think we were intending to, but it was so much fun. Just catching up over everything and nothing, and talking through the things that have been hard, what we're looking forward to, and the kind of clothes we've both been ordering for our different trips to Europe. We also decided, let's go to Trader Joe's, be healthy, get our groceries together for the week, meal prep, and check out all of their fun fall things. In a last minute decision, even though technically it would have been easier for me to drive by myself, we thought, let's just ride together. Yes, I'll have to drop Hannah back off at her house, but it's way more fun to gab and catch up in the car. So we got our list together, headed off to Trader Joe's. As we pulled into the parking lot, I turned off the car, we go to get inside, and my car sounds like it's still running. And side note on the car, I've had a lot of issues with my particular vehicle, and it's a story you don't want to know because it really will release so much anger in me. But last year, just know I was in quite the battle for my car for safety reasons, but cost, all the above. It was a months-long thing that I probably am not recovered from, honestly. But as we pulled up to Trader Joe's and could hear that my car sounded like it was still running, I got back in, checked to make sure I had turned it off, got back out again, and the fans were pumping. At this time we got out of the car, there were 3 ladies on break at Trader Joe's. They all looked at the both of us and said, that just does not seem right, which, as a person who has some PTSD from car issues, is really not what you want to hear. They all got concerned, got up, looked inside my car, making sure it still wasn't running, saying, it sounds like the fan is still running and it shouldn't be going this long. Are you sure you turned it off? They joined in with us, seeming concerned, and said, you know what? You go shop. We'll be here. If it explodes, we'll come get you. To which I responded, I really hope you're not going to have any reason to come get me, but thanks. Hannah and I walked inside, separated our ways just to fill out our grocery lists. The entire time I'm praying and emboldened to pray, like, Lord, I know that you are the healer of all things. I know you know my need, which is to not have another expense right now, but especially an expense on this car. I know that you ordain all things to work and work under your own submission. So I'm in Trader Joe's going up and down the aisles like, Lord, you know what I need, and I'm asking that you would even bring your healing touch to my car. Please. So as we meander the aisles, it's getting closer and closer to needing to leave, and no word. Eventually, one of the ladies from outside comes in and says, it eventually turned off. Hopefully you're fine. So with a deep breath, I checked out. We headed out the door. And as we're approaching the car, load our stuff in, I get in the car, immediately turn it on, and there is a not so fun sound coming from the dash. It says immediately to check my coolant level, that the temperatures are getting too high, and to check the owner's manual for how to fix it. Immediately, Hannah and I start Googling. We notice that there's an Advanced Auto Parts down the road. She starts looking up, what does a coolant do? And if you're running low, what happens on the other side of that? As she's saying it, the temperature gauge on my dash is going higher and higher and higher. But thankfully, we were less than a mile away from an Advanced Auto Parts. We walk in, and there's a guy that greets us, tells us exactly what to get. And as I'm asking him, so do you know how to fix this? Would you want to help us? Immediately he says, well, I like working on cars, but I think you should just look up a YouTube video instead. You two can figure it out. Not much help. And then says, Are you someone who likes to work on cars? To which I wanted to respond, do I look like someone who likes to work on cars? Nevertheless, we got Hannah a Coke Zero. We grabbed the coolant and headed outside to figure it out, YouTube video in hand. Quickly popped the hood. We got the coolant ready and we're well on our way. High-fived each other, getting excited that women can do it all. And we just figured that out. So feeling good. Light is turned off, headed to drop her off. I'm only 15 minutes down the road after leaving her house. My car starts screaming at me to turn the engine off immediately, to stop moving. Everything is overheated. To be by myself in a not so great area of town with really not many options of where to go and wondering what could possibly have happened in the last 30 minutes after I thought I fixed it, emotions started to run high, especially because I have $100 worth of groceries and fall goodies, all from Trader Joe's, that feel like they are now also going to go to waste. As I pull up in the parking lot, I am panicked. It's scary to be by yourself, scary to be by yourself in a not so great area of town, scary to be by yourself in a not so great area of town when you think your car might explode. I turn off the car, call my dad, and the best option is for me to call AAA. I can't get out of my car. I'm stuck in the heat and no water with all of these groceries just melting. So I immediately pick up the phone, call Kelsey if she had plans. And I didn't want to interrupt, but felt a bit in a panic and then called my good friends, Brooke and Tyler. Immediately, everyone's calling me, asking me to send them my location, and we're on their way. And the relief I felt that I was seen and that I even had the wherewithal to ask Brooke and Tyler to bring some grocery bags with some ice packs to potentially save the groceries. Also felt like, okay, I'm not alone. I will be with friends soon. There is help on the way. But I can't lie. It brings up a lot of things that even though I know there's community, there's people I can rely on and they are readily available, it feels like that place that I just keep worrying how I'm going to figure it out by myself, worrying about where I'm located and how quickly they'll be able to get there, and worried that this is yet another thing that I ask God to heal, and it isn't. And that's something that sticks with me. Just this morning, I was listening to Let's Read the Gospels podcast, and we were in Mark 5-7. And right before the Lord's Prayer, there's this verse in Mark 6, 7, and 8 that says, "And when you pray, do not keep on babbling like pagans. They think they will be heard because of their many words. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him." And that's something that I've struggled with, because as I was sitting there going through the aisles of Trader Joe's, all I could say is, Lord, you know financially, this is not what I need. You know that I've had a lot of issues with this car, that I've made quite the investment in it. And what I need is for it just to be fixed miraculously. And trust me, it is not for a lack of faith. I am the type of bold faith person that believes that he could truly put a healing hand on my car and nothing is wrong. That it was just a mistake. That it just needed a second because it was sitting out in the sun. Like, I fully believe to my deepest conviction that the Lord is capable. But it feels like a hard place of why is he not capable of doing it for me? And I know you've probably heard that echoed before in some of the issues I've had surrounding how do I continue to lean into God when I know he's fully capable of being the healer, of physically healing people who are sick. I see him do it all throughout Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But he didn't heal my mom. He's capable, but he chose not to. So as I'm sitting there sweating, waiting on Marty, the AAA guy, to show up, waiting on my friends, all I could think was, you know what I need. And he did that through people. Brooke and Tyler showed up with grocery bags filled to the brim with as many ice packs as they had possible, started transferring over my groceries, and Brooke also handed over a canned cocktail because she said, you know, I think you just need some refreshment. Not 2 minutes after they pulled into the parking lot, Kelsey rolled up saying, I had to just get here. I knew you were not in a good area. I followed your location and just came. I hadn't been able to even get on the phone with her just because I was on the phone with AAA. I watched them hug and greet each other. Kelsey hadn't seen Brooke's growing baby bump in a while, and they were there ready and on call to listen to what I needed, to give me hugs, to just say, I'm so sorry. This is so scary, but we're here. What do you need from us? Immediately, they went into go mode with just the small things like moving over my groceries, taking stuff out of my car, putting it in Kelsey so I could be taken home. And then they just made me laugh, made me cheer up. Tyler starts looking up different places that I could take my car, different people who specialize in the type of car I have. He walked over with me to meet Marty, the AAA guy, which honestly is helpful because I always feel like I need someone alongside me when I'm talking to people who are dealing with cars. But even Marty himself was so nice, handing me water bottles, making the transition as easy as possible and saying, I've got it from here, don't you worry. My dad even showed up to make sure that the car was delivered to the right place and made sure the keys were put at the mechanic to make sure it could be handled in the morning. It was through that I recognize truly what God has provided for me more than anything is people. I really, really, really want him to deliver me from things, but instead he chooses to deliver me through. And these people especially, they are an answer to prayer in that moment, yes, because I needed the cool packs. I needed friends to be with me so I could even get out of my car in that area. I needed someone to walk alongside me and comfort me. But there are also the answered prayers of a middle and high schooler who struggled so much searching for deep community, for people who would drop everything just to show up and support because they want to. They are an answer to prayer of yes now, but also from way back then, because he is faithful and he does know more. And he knows that deeply what I need is to know that I am not alone. In those places that I feel isolated and feel like it's all up to me to figure it out. In those places that I wish I had a husband or a boyfriend to lean on. I wish I had my mom to just call and comfort me in the specific way only she knows how. He keeps showing me that he has people and that he's orchestrated people in my life to be the practical and to be the people who do show up. And so I want to tell you, you need people. You need those people that will be the hands and feet of God, that show up in your best days and your worst days to celebrate and to hold you up when you can't. They are the answer. And I believe that he has deep community. It's why Jesus even walked with disciples. Yes, of course, to teach them and lead them, but he leaned on his community, even in the Garden of Gethsemane, asking them to pray for him. He leaned on people. And I'm so, so thankful that I could lean on those people, and you need to lean on them too. They were such an answer to prayer. And in those places that I still don't have answers, actually, it was brought up again in today's gospel reading. As we continued on in Matthew 7, in Matthew chapter 7, verse 7, it says, Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives. The one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks the door will be opened. Which of you, if your son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will you give him a snake? If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? So in everything, do to others what you would have done to you, for this sums up the law of the prophets. It's in reading that I still sometimes have questions. To me, the good gift would have been my car being fine, not having to sit on the side of the road, not being delayed 2 hours when I just wanted to get home and get to my to-do list and cook up those healthy groceries to make good decisions for the week. That seems like the good answer to me. But as I studied, listening to Paige Brown teach the book of Joshua, she said, God's promises are fulfilled according to his great wisdom, with everything he knows that they, the Israelites, have nothing to do with. He initiates and he does it all. Yes, it would have been so much better to not have to deal with this upcoming car bill because it's hefty. Yes, I would have loved to just drive home with ease, singing along to my playlist and getting along with my day. And I really hope that there's other ways that he is providing, that he sees me out of worrying about the financials or how to figure out how I'm going to get around and make my commitments this week. But what I do know is I do see the provision of so many years of asking for community, for people to walk alongside me. It's really funny. Even yesterday, as Kelsey and I were sitting doing this Page Brown Bible study, the entire time looking out our window, I could see our neighbor Michael doing our yard for us. That's a prayer that I had, and one that I mentioned earlier in this episode, that I just felt so incapable and didn't want to buy a lawnmower and do all of that. Our sweet neighbors next door recognized when I stopped paying, well, didn't just stop paying. I told the yard guy I no longer needed his services, and my dad was coming and helping out. But the timing was just hard. And she said, why don't we just do it? Anytime we're doing our yard, we'd be happy to come over and do yours. So yesterday, the entire time Kelsey and I are listening to Paige Brown teach on the faithfulness of God through the book of Joshua, we keep looking out the window and seeing Michael hard at work on a sunny afternoon, sweating through detailed work in making our yard look pristine. And we kept saying, it sounds crazy, but we just want to cry, because that is a picture of faithfulness, of community, of being able to rely on someone when it's really undeserved. Other than the fact that I bring them a bottle of wine, they're not getting hardly anything out of doing the work of my yard. They're just choosing to be neighborly. And they don't know that it's such a big answer to prayer. So even last night, as we got home, and Kelsey is helping me make the meal that I was hoping to make last night and have for lunches this week, and offering to feed Annie for me just so I could have a minute to decompress. I'm recognizing the faithfulness of everything he has provided for me. And it reminds me of a sermon I heard from Tim Keller about Job. He spoke a lot about Job's prayers and how Job is really angry with God, and he's complaining a lot and frustrated. And honestly, like to some degree, rightfully so. Job's entire world was turned upside down and broken, and so many things were removed from his life. But by the end, God says, Job has honored me. And he said he was listening to a professor once say, how can he say that Job honored him? But he said it's because they were prayers, that ultimately Job was continuing to talk to God. Yes, in complaining, yes, in anger, but he never walked away. He stayed with God when he was getting nothing out of it in his own vision. He wasn't getting the blessings. He wasn't getting the return of what he was missing. But when you stay with God in the midst of not getting what you want, when you are in it for relationship with him, the enemy is defeated. So when you go through darkness and you don't feel like God's there, you hold on anyway. And you can say, you are God and I am not. So in the same way that, yes, I know I would be fully capable of pushing a lawnmower, I just don't want to. Sometimes I have to think maybe that's how God is too. That yes, he was fully capable of healing my mom, but he chose to do it with her in heaven and not here. Yes, he's fully capable of seeing me through that car situation. And ultimately he did. He brought safety and community, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to look like. And I don't know what that is for you. I don't know what it is you are asking for or hoping for and know God is capable of doing, and he just hasn't. But ultimately, I believe that he is the provision and that he does give people to walk alongside us in these hard times. And so whether it be car trouble or health or whatever it is that you are searching for, I do want to continue to be like Job, who is still talking to God, who I can at the end of my life say, have God say to me, Ellie has honored me. So whatever it is you're walking through, mine doesn't have a pretty bow on it either. Honestly, I cried on the phone this morning talking to Madeline that I'm just frustrated and I wish things were different. I hate that there seems like there's this constant list of things breaking and needing to be paid for. And I know part of that is adulting, but if you knew my list, you'd know it's intense. And I wish things were different, that I had a partner to walk alongside in these things with. but he's given me so many people. And for that, I look upon him with so much gratitude as I'm still praying that there will be provision in this fix. And honestly, for whatever I need to do with this freaking car that has caused me so many issues. So I'm really grateful that even in the mess of that day of scooping water out of the garage, what he provided me is a roommate who was willing to wade through the water with me. And yes, that means in scooping the water out of the garage, but she's also done it in some of my darkest days. I'm thankful for Brooke and Tyler who show up and know sometimes what I need is just a sense of family, and they give that to me. I'm thankful for my friends who have called and checked in and texted, for my dad for offering to help in any way that's possible. And I'm really grateful for you and the fact that you would tune in. I hope this little story offered you some little glimpse to keep holding on. And I hope that this story will impact you or someone else you know in your life. So I'd love if you would share it. And definitely make sure to tune into my stories, because I'll share some of the not so glamorous footage of the car, of the scooping water, all of the above. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know you can be a lot of other places, and it means a lot that you would sit and listen to me share this story. I will let you know if we will be back here on Thursday, just based on a lot of the craziness that keeps unfolding with this car. But regardless, I'll talk to you soon.